Did you want the sign-in sheet?
No.
Or maybe,
So we want to call the meeting.
there you go.
6:30, we are going to call the meeting to order, open the meeting up for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Denny Sands.
Here.
Mark Stanley.
Here.
Frank Ottenheim.
Here.
Josh Snyder. Here. Keller Welsh.
Here.
5 are present. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to get on the agenda. We're gonna need a finance committee meeting. We can talk about that later, and probably an infrastructure committee meeting. If you guys need a public hearing, you can. Okay, you got one, good? One's, okay.
Anybody else? Can we get an approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda. Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You want to leave citizens addressing the board as next, or do we want to come back to that after we do
Well, let's do that now.
okay. Citizens addressing the board, John Rude.
Yep. John Root, 102 Apache. I want to ask this board, in your zeal, to slow down and deliberate the things that you're bringing up. As an example, your ordinance for approving Chapter 3 of the municipal code, that wasn't anywhere near. You had tons of edits that needed to be done. It wasn't well thought out. So I'd encourage you not to shoot from the hip and put things in order before you proceed. Now, rumors are a dime a dozen, and they're all over town. But if you guys are thinking of restructuring the water and sewer prices and policies, I again encourage you to really deliberate this seriously. This has all evolved over years by people who have been here longer than the majority of you. And they know what works and doesn't work. So instead of shooting first and asking questions later, and that applies to anything, really deliberate what it is you're trying to propose and look longer term at the impact of those decisions. Thank you.
Laura Jeffco. I apologize if I mispronounced
No,
it.
you did a good job. So it's Laura Jeffco, I live at 411 West Cherokee. And I'm here again after a year and a half. The last time I was here was to address the board about the limit of dogs. We happen to have one dog. Our neighbor has 6 dogs, which are on hopefully an electronic collar. And twice they have charged our dog up on the deck, and the second time I did call county, they came out and they did try to contact them. There was no contact with them. I talked with the previous board president up in his office. He told me that I needed to look around at all the surrounding municipalities around here and check their ordinances. I did that. I came to the meeting. I was told that I couldn't talk to explain all of them because the majority of them around here are 3 pets per household. It can be 3 dogs, 3 cats, and a mixture, but 3. Ours has 6. We changed our lead on our dog to what? Yeah, they have cats too. They don't charge our dog, but we changed our lead for our dog to the east side of our house. But even today, when we're hanging up laundry, our laundry is on the west side of the house, and the dogs charge. And because there's no fence there, it's always, are they going to stop or are they not going to? Today, one of them did come over closer to our house, but I find it difficult that county told me that I need to take a picture or video of them coming over. And when they were charging my dog, and there were 4 of them up on our deck, and I was trying to get our dog into our house through the patio door, it's hard to pull out your phone and record everything. So I did my due diligence, came to the board, tried to explain that it was free, and if you guys want to go and check and look them up, feel free to do that. But I want to know, is the town ever going to draw a limit on how many dogs you can have, or how many pets you allow in a 3-bedroom ranch, which is essentially the front of what our house is, so we know what that house is like. And there's these 3 adults living there too. So at the last meeting, we were told that that would be looked into the next month. And like I said, it's been a year and a half and we haven't heard anything, so just waiting to see what's gonna happen.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure this board will look into it and get back to you quicker than a year and a half.
Not gonna hold my breath.
Okay, don't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
William Heimbigner.
Good evening, everyone. A couple of things. I wanted to encourage y'all on the appointment of Don as the village attorney. He was appointed village police attorney, I believe, at the last meeting. And I've been there, attended a couple of meetings prior to that. He has strongly impressed me that he's the kind of person that will make sure that coloring happens all the way inside of the lines rather than seeing how far outside of the lines can be pushed. And that, for example, that statutes, not bills that never passed, are what gets referenced when telling trustee candidates what they can and can't do. In regards to the appointment of the village mayor, Village of Lee just changed the mayor that we had through the usual election process, and most of you know that the past 2 years have been considerably tumultuous, given a mayor that has a history of self-serving and prioritizing certain agendas as opposed to having a priority of kind of a more neutral and fair and balanced perspective on everything. My understanding is that the board intends to appoint Frank as the new mayor for the next 2-year term. I would encourage you all to look past the board because everything in my experience in my interaction with Frank has suggested that that would be a mistake. One particular example of that mistake would be when Frank was charged with official misconduct around 10 years ago, and through a plea deal entered into a guilty plea. That ended up by pleading that down to a attempted misconduct charge, was able to go away after supervision. But that is just one such example of what I have seen in terms of suggesting that he would not be a fair and balanced sort of leader for Shabbona. And I encourage you all to look past the board for who you appoint. No, no, absolutely not. No.
You did letters.
Correct.
Jeff Jeffco?
Second half. Okay, so, I believe it was last August, it was discovered that we had a leak in a water main that came into our house. The water main was moved several years ago because it was a mistake, but they ended up turning our water off for not paying the bill, which was paid, but I'm not gonna get it. And so they had to break up the sidewalk to turn the water off. And so they extended out closer to the street. Well, it turned out that when they didn't do it right, and several years later now, we have the water leak that was coming into our, from the water. So the village came in and they did dig up took out 2 pieces of sidewalk and fixed it. Basically put a pipe in there so we could valve it out. That was in August. And now, we're now into June, and I still have not had my sidewalk. And so, kind of like the dog issue, I would like the board to be proactive, and because I have stuff that, in that area that I have, trestle that we had up there and some other things. I can't put any of that stuff back until I get the sidewalk fixed. And I know this a couple of months ago was brought up on, you guys were discussing whether to approve some funding for sidewalks. I don't know if that was done at the last meeting, but I encourage, I really need to get my sidewalk fixed. Like I say, I've got 2 patches that need to be replaced. Thank you.
I will say it is on the sidewalk list that the infrastructure committee is going to discuss. Appointment of acting village president. Discussion, motions.
I'd like to make a nomination for Frank Ottenheim.
I'd like to second that.
Discussion. If there's no discussion, we can do a roll call vote. For the nomination of Frank Ottenheim. Denny Sands,
Yes.
Mark Stanley.
Yes.
Calvin Welsh,
Yes.
Frank Ottenheim,
I'll abstain. Thank you.
Josh Snyder. Motion carries.
Congratulations, Frank.
Thank you. So I need a lot of help, guys.
At this time, I will swear in Frank Ottenheim as acting village president.
Okay.
And then Frank will take over the meeting. That way I'll get that. I state your name.
I, Frank Ottenheim,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the laws and ordinances of the Village of Shabbona,
the laws and ordinances of the Village of Shabbona,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Village President
of the office of Village President
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay. New business under A. presentation, a recommendation from trustee Dennis Sands to appoint village attorney for fiscal year 26.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce Dominic here. He's sitting in front row with a good-looking tie on. And he's the attorney with Rochelle, and he's the attorney with Lee. And attorney in many other places too, I'm sure. But two that we know of, and a lot of us have run into people from Lee or Rochelle, and they all give 5 stars to him. So I haven't heard a word negative about him, and I've met with him probably 3 times one-on-one, and he's just a magnificent person. And I'd like to put his name in for consideration for village attorney, and I'd like to invite him to come up front here and give a little speech, I suppose, and then he'll be available for questions. Is that okay, Frank?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. The attorney was the introduction. I am the attorney in the city of Rochelle. I've been a corporation counsel since January 2017. Village Lee just appointed me in May.
Now, Nick, you can sit down up here if you want to, pop in the chair.
Okay.
That way everybody can see you at the same time.
All right.
Did you put a hat on for the glare?
Thank you. Got me fired. So just to reiterate, I've been the village attorney, or city attorney for Rochelle since 2017. I replaced Attorney Cooper. He had been there 17 years prior, but I've worked with the city of Rochelle since 2012. I was the panel counsel for the Illinois Municipal League, so I represent municipality in lawsuits across the state, anywhere from Champaign, Urbana, Rantoul, all the way to South Beloit, Quad Cities, all the way to southern suburbs, Chicago area, so pretty much everything north of Champaign. Anything as complex as executive orders regarding COVID. My firm and myself work all the time to litigate those matters. We represent my firm now, which I've been since April this year. I spent here for 13 years. We've been representing 400 municipalities, park districts, and fire protection districts in some capacity or another. I've done everything from economic development through HR matters, litigation, and everything in between and all the transactional work. Since I started with Rochelle, we've done probably $400 or $500 million worth of economic investment in the city. So I'm very familiar with water, water utility, water reclamation, some of the challenges that goes there, especially the IPA. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Anything that you can see, a former state's attorney and special state's attorney and special attorney general appointed to represent various counties as well as the state of Illinois in multiple cases.
It's in order. I'd like Steve Carlack.
Yeah.
You can play him over to me.
Yes,
Mr.
I spoke with John Barrows. I've known John for quite a few years, and he's the mayor of Rochelle, and he highly recommended Dominic. So I went up and met him after one of Rochelle's meetings, and we spoke for a while, and yeah, all of us on the board were very impressed with Dominic, and I have no doubt that he's everything that he says he is.
Thank you. I also spoke to Mayor Barrows. That's the same type of comments you just.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious what happened when Keith decided not to, Foster decided not to stay, or is this just the ideal time to replace them?
We got a resignation letter from Keith and his friends.
Okay. I was on board many, many years ago, and like I said, I know he's been connected with the city for many years, so it's just, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions on that?
Frank, I have one question. I don't know where we should put this on the agenda, but I think we need to talk about what happened a few weeks ago with alleged bills that you guys may have owed, may not have owed, and whether it's paid or not paid. Because there's some question about the legality of what we actually did, including me, that night. And I would just like that matter cleared up.
Okay, I guess what I'd ask Dominic, are you free to talk with that before we would appoint you as attorney?
I don't want to give unsolicited legal advice, and I would have to dig deeper, but I think on the issue.
Okay.
From the information that I have, that's
Okay, well, let's go on to our consideration and approval to appoint the village attorney. Ask for a motion
I'll make a motion.
to appoint Dominic as
Then I'll
village
appoint
attorney.
Dominic as village attorney.
Okay, guess I need a second.
Roll call vote to appoint Dominic as village attorney. Denny Sands?
Yes.
Mark Stanley?
Yeah.
Kellen Welsh?
Yes.
Frank Ottenheim?
Yes.
Josh Schneider? Motion carried. Frank, if you could come into the village office tomorrow to sign the agreement.
Point of order, as mayor, I don't think Frank's vote should have been counted.
It can be.
I can vote unless I haven't resigned the
Oh, the trusteeship yet?
trusteeship.
I thought that was automatic.
No.
Okay.
But John, I will do that.
Okay, that would be good, make room.
That's the idea, to make room. Maybe Denny, to your point, we should let Dominic get a little more familiar with what happened at our next board meeting. You can address that. But I agree.
It's okay with me.
Let's let him get a little more familiar.
Yes, yeah. Get all the information you can, see where it all shakes out.
Okay. Thank you,
Fair enough.
Dominic.
Thank you.
I don't know if we're gonna have you at every meeting, but
I think we should.
sure we're gonna have you at some of the
We
meetings.
should have had him at that meeting we looked up at.
Well, he wasn't on board quite.
I mean, we should have had any attorney that night.
Okay, thank you, Don. Okay. If you'd like to, yeah. Sure, why not? Okay, we'll go on for the consideration and approval of appoint to post for the building inspector RFP. And the RFP's in your packet. I would imagine everybody's read it. I guess a motion would be in order to post the RFP.
Wait a minute, motion to post it.
What does RFP stand for?
Request for proposal.
Okay.
I
heard that.
I knew the answer, working in government for years ago.
Thanks.
There was this is the version that was handed out by Kellen at a committee meeting, I believe. The only thing I added to it was the code series the village has, because that's one of the most common questions that are asked when you ask for a for something like this, so.
And I'm not sure when were they gonna be back, Kellen?
I put June 19th. Essentially 3 weeks. You can change that. 23rd. So it's like the Wednesday before that. That way, whatever comes in can be considered.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to post the RFP.
I believe we can just all in favor.
All in favor? All opposed?
I'm still trying to find the free thing to post it on, but, I'll post it wherever I can and put it in Rapid.
Would we post that in the Chronicle for,
We can.
I think maybe we should do that for local people. I don't know how big a circulation the Rockford paper has. Here. In
It
Shabbona.
goes out further.
Yeah, so, okay, but we'll post it in the DeKalb papers.
Absolutely.
So I guess this goes back to my initial question of the posting, or for the posting. Are we held, because we don't charge anything for a permit? The village itself charges nothing for a permit, okay? But if, my initial question was to the board, when we brought this up, if we are hiring licensed contractors to do the work, and we submit that to the village, if I was having work done, or anybody in here, if they're licensed and bonded, do we hire someone to oversee that instead of a company like B&F?
Well, I guess I'm not sure. There's some things that I would like to see that don't require permits. And I don't know if it's legal to do that, that's why Dominic's here.
Yeah.
There's some things that I think would help the village as far as a permit for a roof or windows or siding, those type of things, if we're gonna forego the permit process or something.
And that's separate from ordinance, so it can be reviewed and updated, because we have building codes, we're able to have exceptions.
I think that's
Things like
something
that.
we need to look into as we go forward into the process. I think we're gonna have to see what we get back for people that would like to do the job, or could do the job. Anybody else got any questions on the RFP or how we're gonna go about it?
Well, the RFP does say from qualified individuals or firms, so it goes both ways.
I guess the other question is, are we gonna rely on that person to issue said permits to do work, or how's that gonna work, and is the village gonna charge for that? Because right now we don't charge anyone, or we don't charge anyone.
And again, I think that it'll be a working process as we get proposals back, see where we can go. It's gonna be up to the board to decide what they wanna do with it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to C, consideration and approval on initiating the 30-day termination clause with B&F code compliance.
The drafted letter is in the packet. It's a determination of if you want to, any edits for the letter, as well as when you want to consider initiating that clause.
Was there any, in the termination agreement, was there any dollar fee that we had to pay because we terminated it?
I don't believe there was.
No, I think it was just a 30-day limit.
30-day out
This
clause.
is the way I understood it. Well, now I'd like to make a motion to issue their 30-day notice then.
We've got a motion, do we have a second for that?
you talking about this time or in the future?
B and F.
You know,
Denny, are you asking as of when?
Yeah, as of
these
when, yeah.
Initiated?
yeah.
Date should go out.
Well, whenever we get the letter drafted up and send it to them.
Okay. So, yeah, I think there should be a
We
30
gotta
day
give them,
notice.
we gotta give them 30 days anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Sure.
30 days from tomorrow, the letter can go out.
Send it out tomorrow or send it out 30 days from tomorrow.
Well, we have to give them a 30-day notice, correct?
Correct, so send it out tomorrow.
Send it out tomorrow. Motion for Mark to send the termination letter.
Second.
Any second. And I think we can, all in favor of that motion?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
If you did have any edits to it, you need a copy of the paper I have, but let me know by tomorrow morning. I'll send it out tomorrow. Certified mail.
Okay, D is consideration and approval of the village treasurer and deputy clerk job descriptions.
So this would be, we need to discuss, approve the number of hours the new treasurer would work and pay for the job posting that's in the packet. I recommended the treasurer's job description. I have removed utility billing from it to bring that into the office, since I'm in the office at least 32 hours a week, and having clerk or deputy clerk do utility billing.
Okay. I guess those job descriptions seemed okay to me, but I think we need to, I think we all need to be on board on the hours of work and the amount of time up to. Yeah, on the up to, yeah.
It's hard to say. Do you know, like, I don't know if seen the breakdown of hours.
So, yes, it's a case of, you got another thing to consider too is paying into IMRF. So anything over 599 hours per year, which is like 49 point some hours a month, requires payments into IMRF. So could be posted at like 49 hours per month. That keeps it right underneath the IMRF threshold. Anything more than around 50 hours to 60 hours was her recommendation.
And that's without utility bill work.
Correct. She was at 80 hours per month, and most months she was working an additional 5 to 10 hours.
I've got a question, Jim. Before we had 3, when we worked, then we went down to 1 retired. Are we replacing her, or are you guys just absorbing her time?
Though the rest of the treasurer job needs a person responsible for it.
Okay. Just double check.
Because it also gives us a checkpoint for the finances going in and out of the village.
The treasurer job, as I understood it, was not an hourly job, it was
It's been salaried.
Salaried.
It could be converted to hourly. We always figured it'd be an hourly rate for the treasurer.
and I guess I would ask Dominic, if it's a salary position, does that get us in the 600 hours for IMRF?
It's going to, but you can't, it's difficult to break it down. You can say, you can monetize the hourly as a salary, but in your salary, you can work 50 hours a month, so in order to keep track, in order to make it,
I think maybe at this point in time, we're not worried about the hours because everything is going on, the paperwork, shuffle, job changes and stuff like that. So maybe,
Well, part of the job posting includes hours and
yeah.
so that's why we're talking about it, because the hours we have to put on there, is my understanding from some.
So are they only gonna be held to that, or for, if you post a salary?
Or would we work on that?
Or how do you compensate for over what they're posted for?
Pay them hourly and they work more than the hours determined to be their monthly hours, then you gotta revisit it, determine if hours need to be increased or what's going on. Here's what I'll say. Frank had asked me if I could do a survey for hours pay of treasurer, clerk, deputy clerk, office hours, and who does utility clerk. So I'm part of the municipal clerks of Illinois, and we clerks use a message board to ask for things like this. So I messaged it out whatever day it was last week that he asked me. So I got quite a few responses. I asked for between 800 to 1,200 populations. So the 10 population from 870 to 970, 6 of them are full-time clerks or clerk collector. The clerk does utility billing monthly or bi-monthly. The treasurer works an average of anywhere from 40 to 50 hours a month at the most. Some municipalities, the treasurer works 20 hours. All they do is financial reports, but you lose that checkpoint from auditing perspective of different things.
After we post this and it replies, are we able to negotiate hours and wages and that type of thing after we post them?
Yes. Well, you're gonna, you guys,
Yeah, I understand.
you would be able to identify the hours of service needed, and then we've already posted a range, I presume,
I haven't posted anything yet.
for dollar value.
Yeah.
I presume that again, sliding scale based on experience.
Could I ask that we send what we're gonna post to Dominic and have him look at it and maybe give us a little guidance and get it posted? Let's do that. Can we, need to table things, can we table this until our next meeting later at the end of the month?
Again, yeah.
We do have, we've got the things covered that we need right now with you and the deputy clerk. As far as water billing, because we'll have water billing coming up pretty quick.
Yeah, if we could make a decision on that, because there's a program that has to change laptops on utility billing. And we get one more, if we get one free change, and then, for free.
Can you wait that long for another person? Or would you rather not?
It's up to you guys on that.
Well, if she's needed, she's
Do what I
needed.
need to do, and Mel can pick up some areas of responsibility. The biggest thing is I'm the only bonded person to access bank accounts or everything.
I would like to see it
Which is fine.
speeded.
And I'm okay that if we wait, it'll just be mid to late July before we start onboarding someone.
If we get applicants like this. I'd like to have Dominic look at what our postings are gonna be, and then approve them, if that's all right with the rest of the board.
And then you're waiting for the next board meeting.
To approve it and post it, yeah, after Dominic said,
I just want to make sure that she's comfortable with that.
Do we need to approve anything right now to be able to deliver on the document?
Or the village clerk, so you're either adding hours to the deputy clerk, approximately 30 to 40 hours per month it goes out to, or as a full-time clerk, I could also be considered a collector, and it just comes under the
can the job duties be split a little bit between the two?
There's certain things of it that the deputy clerk could still do. So it might take another 5 hours per month or something.
Is she willing to do that?
Yes.
let's do that for the immediate future here, that we split the job duties up between you and the deputy clerk, and then we'll get input back from our attorney as far as our personnel goes. Well, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Let's take a spiral though, you don't know if you want that or not. Right?
I think we'll go on to E, then it's a consideration and approval to post the village treasurer position. And again, I think I would like Dominic to look at it, what we're gonna post before we do it. If that's all right with you. Anybody have any problem with it? Okay, we'll do it that way. F here is consideration and approval of subcommittees. We're in the spot that Mr. Cinnamon chaired two of the committees. He's now gone, so we need to find people to replace, or a person to replace Mark on both those committees. And I think the one of immediate need is the finance committee. We need to get that done. Is anybody here, are you guys willing to take the chairmanship of the finance committee? And I guess right off, I don't know. That's the one I think we need done as soon as the finance committee, and we can, at the same time, we can be looking for other people to fill in the blank spots.
So for finance committee meeting, is it just going out to all trustees and acting village president? Or is it a number of members of the committee? It's not required for everybody?
I would prefer at this point, place and time that we do a committee of the whole meeting for finance, so we can go through it and get the appropriation set. Is my understanding the appropriation has to be in by 1st of July.
It's be approved in June 23rd.
I think it's imperative that we get that done. I had a couple dates in mind for our finance committee meetings, would be the 9th or the 18th. Anybody have any problems with either one of those dates?
The 18th, I think I do.
Okay, how about the 9th? I'd like to get this going as quick as we could, so we would do a finance committee meeting, it'd be a committee of the whole. It's 6:30 PM on the
Monday the 9th?
9th, correct.
I'll do the base agenda and send it to Kellen for his review and edits. And we'll get it out here this week.
We got time to get that done. Okay. Anything else you want to bring up on that? Please.
Do we need to talk about infrastructure so we can move on sidewalks and that before the meeting?
Again, we need a chairman for the infrastructure committee if we do that. Anybody willing to take that on?
I think I was on there anyway.
I think you were, so we'll need somebody,
You got promoted.
we need somebody else on the committee, so. I was on that committee, so. You on the infrastructure committee? You want to get some?
I wasn't on it, but
You willing to take that on for a little bit? Before we do things? Okay. Mark will be the chairman of the infrastructure committee, and Josh will take my place on it.
As coach president, you're on all committees.
Well, I am.
That's fine. Do you guys have a date next week? Mel and I are out of town the 12th and 13th at Peoria at that clerk training. You guys can always take your own minutes.
Maybe we need to move that out till the next week.
That's Wednesday.
Yes, we need to get sidewalks fixed.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
16?
Monday the 16th.
You fine? Maybe 16,
6:30?
6:30, and 16.
I'll draft that agenda and send it to Mark. She's anybody else has anything for it.
Anything else on subcommittee? Let's move on then to consideration and approval to authorize the Public Affairs Committee to handle all matters for the 4th of July festival. That was my addition to the agenda. I feel we're getting awful close to the 4th of July and we don't have time to be coming back to the board, so. And you do have a meeting scheduled. So, I think I would just soon put the 4th of July festival in the committee's hands. Ken?
Yes,
Is that?
that's us three.
Right, so you're good with that?
Yeah, these guys are doing a tremendous job, by the way, too.
Okay, so we'll just leave anything that needs to be decided up to you guys. And I don't know how close we are running to the budgeted amount on the committee, but if you need to go over, you need to go over.
Well, I think we're there, you know, we ain't got a lot of money left to spend.
About $500.
Yeah. We're right at our limit, basically. But we don't foresee anything but you never know.
Well, should something come up,
Yeah.
I think, I guess we're not actually spending money, but do we need to vote on that so they can?
I would just say
approve
motion
this?
and second authorizing the Public Affairs Committee to handle all matters for the 4th of July.
Then if there's an expenditure, you just have to ratify
What was that I didn't hear?
it. If there's an expenditure, you should ratify the expenditure as a kind of your meetings.
So that can be post.
Post festival.
We had at the last meeting, you reviewed,
We're just looking for overage. To be able to approve the overage. So I will look for a motion to approve. So, second. And roll call, I guess, huh? Casey Sherman.
Roll call vote. Denny Sands?
Yes.
Mark Stanley?
Yeah.
Kellen Welsh?
Yes.
Frank Ottenheim?
Yes.
Denny, oh, sorry, Josh Snyder. Sorry. Motion carried.
Okay, H is the process for filling open board positions. Anybody have any idea how we handle that?
I got one.
Okay.
Anybody in the audience want to stand up? If you do, seriously, we're looking for some good people, and it's not a whole lot of hours you put in. But it's well worthwhile, and then the community you get to know the community better, and the community gets to know you better, and it's just a good deal for everybody. So I encourage, we get, how many people here? 20? We get 20 to choose from. And you gotta be a resident for a year, right? Yeah, if you live here less than a year, you're not eligible.
Sure, go ahead.
I would be willing to do it to fill the election. I've been on the board, I was on the board probably, 25, 30 years ago. I've been a resident of Shabbona for 3 years.
You submit us a letter as soon as possible.
Drop it off at the village office or email the clerk.
And if you know anybody else that would be willing to help us, submit the letter to the clerk and we'll.
You can nominate people
No,
too. We'll chase them down.
We would argue too much.
and we'll look at that for the next board meeting, obviously.
If everybody listening at home, if you're listening to the video, send us a letter.
How many copies do you have? Two? Anybody else with a?
I have a question.
Sure.
What needs to be in the letter? I mean, just a letter.
Name,
just saying-
address, how long you've lived in town, I would guess.
And that you're interested in
Say something good about yourself.
board.
Why don't you do that?
And
I know you.
even if you got some of your acquaintances to,
Yeah, recommendation, somebody,
wouldn't hurt a bit.
somebody else, they gotta write a letter for you.
Page 3.
You're limited to a dozen.
How long of a term is it? Is it all the same?
2-year term till 27, because you're filling until the next election.
So the election in November 26th, is that,
No,
or is it actually?
27.
It'd be March, April of 27, depending on how the election day falls.
I think you probably still have to do a financial review. Yeah.
You just have to file a
That's
statement.
all.
Not as a candidate, right? Only as a board member.
If you're 22.
As when you're appointed.
Trustees have to do 4-year term? They don't go to president.
It's,
They do
the
one
Attorney
term.
General's office.
Board members have any questions about that? Anything you want to do? On that? Okay, let's move on. Consideration and approval to change the start times for the meetings.
Start at 6 o'clock.
We should start at 6 o'clock.
Anybody else have a problem with
I'm good.
it? Ken? You wouldn't have a problem with it?
How about, anybody else? Anybody else?
Do we
I'm
need,
answering for the office, because currently I am the office.
Fair enough.
You get
Just
three
need a
votes,
motion
huh?
in a second.
if we change the start time of the meetings, because the regular meetings, we have to post it.
No, I just need to change it on my posting. I posted on the notice boards, it's on the village website posted, so I'll change for the time.
We don't have to post that to,
Did you already adopt a resolution or?
They
Yes.
did back in March.
Can we motion to do that now? Or do we wait till later?
No, if you're gonna post a special meeting, you have to do it in advance.
post, but we can approve them, we can approve a motion to do that.
Yes, but then you're gonna have to post a special meeting. Which is our-
Right. We have to, we
So
have to.
we'll update all
publicize
of our
that.
meeting dates, our regular meetings.
What we're looking at doing right now is changing the already posted regular meetings from 7 to 6.
Right, I understand.
And we would need to publish that, correct?
So if we motion to approve that tonight, I can get it published. What do you mean a special meeting?
Since you already had the regular schedule, you set it by, what's the stakeholder, correct? Right, that is required, right, the state law. So you go ahead and deviate from what you adopted previously. Then I think that's considered special meeting.
Can we change the ordinance that sets the meetings?
There's no ordinance, it's just a roll call.
There wasn't a resolution to adopt the meeting schedule.
Okay, so we need a motion to change the meeting time in a second.
It's in Photoshop, that's what we're making a motion to change.
All right, I'd like a motion to change the meeting time to 6 P.M.
I'll make a motion to change the meeting time to 6 p.m.
I second.
Mark seconds it. I think we can do all in favor on that, correct? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
I just found myself on
It's just.
Okay, Jay's discussion of runoff at Shabbona Fire Protection District. I think the village engineers got some information for us on that.
Sure, thank you. On May 21st, we took bids for the tile project between Wheelhouse 6 and the fire department shed. Lowest responsible bidder was O'Brien Civil Works, they're the same firm that did Apache Street here last year. Low bid was $53,438, and we would recommend that if you want to move forward with that project, that you will award it to O'Brien Civil Works. Are there any questions?
Was there only one bidder?
We just one bidder. We had 3 contractors take out bids and 1 return bid.
Do you know why the other bidders didn't follow through and bid on?
We didn't ask them more. No. I would guess Martin was one of them and Elliott Wood was the other one. Starting to get later in the season now, you know, they probably have enough work lined up for the year, but no, I did not follow them individually.
Could you tell us what the bid solicitation process is?
Bid solicitation process, we advertised that in the IDOT bulletin. That is the bulletin that all the contractors look to for public agency work for local agencies. And Shabbona being a local agency, that's where a lot of the counties and municipalities and townships actually advertise the projects.
Okay. And to submit a bid to Chastain, is there a fee for that?
There's a fee to pull the plans, for the copies of the plans, but not to submit a bid.
Okay, so the other 2, did they pull the plans but then not submit
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Yep.
I got a question before we go on with this project.
Yeah.
Has the fire district board been advised of this project? Do they know what you're doing? Are we sure we're gonna solve the problem?
The fire board does know about the project. I and David Simpson was the last meeting with representatives of the fire board. We walked through the project, what was going to be done as part of the project, so they're aware of that. Is it going to solve the problem? We believe it is. We don't believe there's actually a problem now with the removal of all the bushes, because the grade of the earth is below the actual foundation, the slab elevation for the fire barn. But there has been situations prior to the removal of those bushes where water got underneath the sill in the fire barn.
I was under the impression that we took the water runoff from the roof of that building
We did,
and moved it to
Lima Street.
Lyman Street. So, I guess what you're saying, that the problem should be gone with removal of the bushes and the water going to Lyman Street. Do we really need to do this? And I guess what I'm asking.
There's a difference of opinion on that.
Okay,
There's a difference of opinion.
what's your opinion? We're paying you for.
My opinion as the engineer is what we need to do is go in there, just grade it back out to where it drains away from the fire barn, you know, the soil, and it'll be fine. Now, that being said, Mother Nature could throw a downpour on us and that swale that would be created could be filled with water, and you can still get water up over the concrete slab, but I can't control my issue with that. The tile project, I think, is gonna help with any situation where that may even possibly occur. Because we're gonna give it a pipe method to carry it away.
The other question I have, when I was there, the mud worked up through the floor of the fire station.
Okay?
Okay, did we create a problem there? Has there been a void created under the floor of the fire station?
Not,
Is there,
that's my knowledge, it's the first I've ever heard of that.
I don't know. In my estimation, and I'm not trying to be an engineer, but the mud came from somewhere that came into the fire station, and I would think that the fire district would want to know that we're gonna, I don't know how we solve that problem if there is a void there. How do we know that?
If there was mud coming up through the slab, concrete slab,
There was, yes.
okay, apparently there's a crack in that slab, right? Has to migrate through something, right? And it's probably the result of hydraulic pressure, where water, forcing through and found its easiest relief point, crack in the concrete. How much mud, what would it mean the first I heard about it? Was it a cupful?
It was substantial.
A gallon?
I would say it was substantial enough that it would concern me that building and the water runoff has created a problem for the fire district under the floor, should the floor fail in the future.
It's the first I've ever heard about that, so I can't really give you an opinion. Without investigating.
I guess I'm a little hesitant to spend $53,000 to create a swell when you think that maybe taking the bushes out and running the water off the roof solve the problem.
We did a study early on in the process, comparing the pre-development runoff area that drained from the parcel towards the fire department versus the post-development runoff area that drained that same direction. We ran and surveyed topo of the area, did a calculation analysis, and the amount of runoff area that moved towards the building after the construction was over was actually less than the area that drained towards the fire department before the construction. Okay. Then efforts were made to minimize the amount of water coming off the roof that was hitting the downspouts, hitting the ground, and then would eventually work its way over towards the fire barn. That's the roof drain downspout that was piped back to the west to Library Street. Okay, so that area that fell on top of the east half of the well number 6 building doesn't go that towards the fire barn anymore. It goes to the west to Library Street, thereby decreasing the amount of area runoff that goes to the fire barn even less. I'll tell you that as a fact.
So, problem may be solved. I can tell you, since 1990, we didn't have the problem until, the fire district didn't have the problem until well number 6 building was put up.
Sure, that's what I would do.
And I guess looking at it, a $53,000 job to maybe do nothing. Maybe the problem's solved by taking the water from the roof.
That's been the discussion of the board for the past year and a half, is the problem already solved. But no matter what, I think the one thing that definitely should be done is we need to get back in there and finish grading that area. Make sure that we've got a good swale, where the water comes off the fireboard, and it hits the ground, comes away from the fireboard into the swale, and is either carried into the river or back to the side.
Do you tile it at the same time you're putting the swale in it then?
No, this project is to put the tile in, okay? And what we're talking about here is just do the grading.
Yeah. So we gotta put that up a bit too?
That you could do a lot cheaper.
If it's less than $35,000, we don't have to. If it's a substantial amount of money, it's RFP.
Yeah, and that's why we went out for bid on this. We went ahead and got prices, estimates of cost from contractors to put the tile in, French drain, and then carry that water on down to the next manhole. And we saw that those estimates were in the $50,000 range. We said, okay, wait, stop. We gotta bid this thing out.
I would like the fire district board to be okay with the project. Maybe with the water runoff from the roof being run off of Illini Street and the bushes being gone, and maybe the problem hasn't been there since that's happened. I think we may be spending $50,000 that we don't need.
I agree with you. The last input we got from the fire board was there's an agreement in place. The village is going to make X number of improvements, and they will look into those improvements.
Frank, I've been on the board a little over a year and a half. I would say at 80% of the meetings, we've had the same discussion. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And nothing ever gets solved, nothing ever gets agreed to. One side puts another restriction on, the other side puts another restriction on. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm tired of hearing about it. It's just never getting solved.
Yeah,
Or then where you get both sides agree to, yeah, this is the solution that both sides can agree to. We've never gotten there.
Well, maybe we need to get both sides together then instead of trying to talk to an engineering firm and talk with the fire board and find out what they're looking for us to do.
I think
I
maybe
don't know
Frank,
what
you
we're
could meet
supposed
with
to
the
do.
current fire chief, or I think they're gonna have a new one, aren't they? Or,
I think,
and some, come up with a solution. And like I said, this has been almost 2 years of back and forth, back and forth. How much you spent? You spent probably more than 60,000 on your call, on your fees we're paying you.
Not
That's on top of the 60,000.
at this point, I'm not sure that this project solves, I'm not sure there's a problem there to be solved. The problem I have is if the building, if the floor has been under, I think we wind up with a liability there. Because the water run off our building to undermine that floor.
That'd be speculation on my part. There's a couple of different causes. I don't know what the cause, without saying, what came from, or conveyance, pressure, eventually. I'm talking about the nuisance lawsuit. That's a good thing, but it's still, I don't need no facts.
Frank, come up with your solution between you and him.
I think we need to look at that before we spend.
We're spending way too many tax dollars.
$53,000
Way too.
Just for, as another point of information, apparently at some time, the downspouts from the fire alarm, which were piped into a drain tile, apparently at some time that drain tile was plugged. I don't know if that could have caused the hydraulic pressure that you're talking about here. I don't know, it's the first I've ever heard, anybody coming up to this side.
I think it warrants a little further investigation before we enter into $53,000 contract.
I think it would be a great idea for the two boards to come to an agreement,
I think so.
because that hasn't happened yet. Except for when one of the boards said move forward and the fire board said, well, we're still not gonna do what you said you were gonna do.
They take turns saying no to each other.
I think we could, that probably would be a cause for the infrastructure committee to get together with them and hopefully try to do that before our next meeting. I would imagine prices go up on that. The contract won't be $53,000 if we let it sit very long, right?
I think it's 45 days contract, I have something, yeah. There's a period of time, it's not very long. I think it's 45 days, I can double check that.
I think the infrastructure committee should get with them and come up with a fix that suits them, because
Okay.
I do think maybe the village created that problem, I'm not sure, but I know it wasn't there before that building.
That's what I've
Whether
heard.
the E-troughs were from the fire station were plugged up, would that cause it, I don't know.
And
After the building showed up, so did the problem.
we got here for the construction of the building, and I don't know what happened before that.
And I think it's not, that, I can't speak for the board, but they don't want to solve the problem, but I don't think we want to throw that kind of money at a problem that maybe has been solved by moving the rainwater out to the line.
And I can appreciate that fiscal responsibility.
So I guess, I don't know what we need to do other than,
We're scheduling an infrastructure for 6/16, so do we want to reach out to the
Yes.
trustees and the chief and see if they're available
correct,
that week?
I have one question. If we were to move forward with drainage improvement, could you speak to the necessity of the directional boring?
The directional boring item is running a storm sewer from the area between the between the well house and the fire road east to the next drain unit. And we chose to use directional boring so we didn't have to tear up the concrete apron in front of the fire road.
Do you think that would be cheaper than tearing up the apron? So why are we doing that instead of digging?
We felt that tearing out the apron and reboring it was going to be more expensive.
Oh.
Plus, it was the desire of the fire board, fire department board, not to tear up the area. Part of the project.
Yep.
That's the big item on the project is put the tile in, we will give them that tile someplace to train to, won't cause another problem someplace else. So that was the directional board, and then down to the next, storm.
okay, so I think we'll go back, the infrastructure committee will try to meet with the fire board and decide where we need to be. And
We're ready to get an airfield because they're pitching in.
hopefully we can have it by the next meeting.
By the June meeting.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep, you're welcome.
I think that's all we have for this evening is, we've already talked about the finance and infrastructure committee meetings. So, do we have anything else added that we can? I guess I'd be looking for a motion for adjournment. All in favor? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Dominic, thank you.
Good job, Frank.
Congratulations, Frank.
What's that something? That didn't seem to matter. And there's something else.
Not yet, but it's in the works.
Well,